Has anyone experienced sleep paralysis before? It's truly one of the most peculiar, captivating, and yet terrifying experiences one could have. It's the sensation of being immobilized upon waking up. Your senses and awareness remain sharp, yet you find yourself in a state that feels both half asleep and half awake. I had heard tales of this long before it became my own experience. I have encountered it just a single time. I attended college. I was experiencing a profoundly challenging period in my life. During finals week, I experienced an overwhelming amount of stress. I was not getting sufficient sleep. The evening prior to my final exam must have been quite memorable. I went to bed late since I spent the entire night studying for biology. I can't recall exactly when I made the decision to finally call it. All I recall is it turning into a haze, followed by darkness. The next thing I recall is being in my room, lying in my bed. A peculiar haziness enveloped my awareness. I was awake, yet felt a sense of weakness. I found myself unable to move. My eyes were the only part of me that could navigate the shadows of the dimly lit room. At one moment, while I was perhaps gazing to one side of the room, I turned my attention back to the center, and there stood a woman directly in the middle, facing the bed. She donned a black dress and held several elongated items. I wished to call out, "Mom," but my paralysis held me back. I was at a loss for words. The woman approached me, kneeling down to gently touch my forehead. I sensed it. She locked eyes with me, and I could see my mother's face. I attempted to call out to Mom once more, with a sense of urgency, yet I found myself trapped within my own body. She rose to her feet and made her way to the doorway before vanishing into the house. I lay there, unable to move for perhaps another 10 to 20 seconds before my vision sharpened, and my thoughts began to clarify as well. I managed to sit up. I leaped out of bed, calling for Mom repeatedly. I dashed down the bedroom hallway, calling out her name. A door swung open down the hall, and someone approached to embrace me, yet it wasn't my mom. It was my father, expressing that he misses her as well. My mother passed away 3 weeks prior to this event. What I truly appreciate about dreams is their enchanting nature. How unclear and how strange they can be. It seems as though you exist in a distinct realm where everything can appear utterly nonsensical. What happens when that otherworldly essence spills over into what we call the real world? You'll understand shortly. I found myself in REM sleep, experiencing a strange nightmare about being pursued by an unusual creature deep in the woods. The dream started to blur, and I gradually awakened from it. I use the phrase kind of because, even though I was out of the dream and back in my bed, I found myself unable to move a muscle in my body. I began to hear a subtle, unusual sound. It was a sound that was both indescribable and robotic, yet somehow alive. It began gently and subtly, yet it recurred every 3 seconds. I observed that it was becoming increasingly louder each time. The sound seemed to be drawing nearer. The noise in my head became overwhelming. I felt an urge to scream, yet I remained silent, my gaze fixed on the closet door. The crack in the closet door, which I always keep closed, without exception. A distorted face of a man peered through the crack, featuring an unnaturally large, open-mouthed smile. With each noise I heard, it felt as though the closet and the face were drawing nearer, until the closet door banged shut and silence enveloped the room. After regaining control of my body, the first thing I did, despite being 24 years old, was rush to my parents' room to ask my dad to check the closet with me. My closet was empty, as was the rest of my room. My dad appeared quite assured that what I had just gone through was sleep paralysis, and he mentioned that he had encountered it once too. It did not alleviate my feelings of disturbance regarding what I just experienced. Years ago, I experienced sleep paralysis. I was aware of a presence in my closet, something truly malevolent. Yet, I was aware that I was in a dream and that I needed to confront my fear. I made an effort to avoid looking directly at the closet door, yet any shift of my gaze would cause my head to turn away. Regardless of my efforts, I found it impossible to gaze directly at it. Then I awoke, drenched in a cold sweat. Initially, I experienced a profound sense of relief that it had come to an end, but it didn't take long for me to understand that this was no dream and that there was indeed something lurking in the closet. I lay on my back, unable to move, and while I didn't quite hear it, I could sense a sickening laughter wash over me in waves, coming from the closet. Suddenly, an object is hurled at me, and it lands on my chest, revealing a human head facing upwards. I once knew a girl in high school. Until now, I had been managing to stay composed, feeling fear but not succumbing to panic. Well, I'm losing it now. I am unable to scream. All I can manage are these grunting sounds and moaning noises. I'm twisting and pushing, attempting to shift from side to side to free myself, but I'm unable to move. This appeared to continue for perhaps another minute or two, and then I truly awakened. The experience was so distressing that for weeks, I would wake up in fear, worried that I wasn't truly awake and that something terrible could occur at any moment. That laugh still sends chills down my spine when I think about it. At that time in my life, I had never encountered the concepts of sleep paralysis or night terrors. I believed I was losing my sanity. I have experienced sleep paralysis 3 times throughout my life. The initial 2 instances involved me awakening and finding myself unable to move my body. The 3rd time, however, was quite different. I woke up very early in the morning, likely between 5 and 6 a.m., as the sun was just beginning to rise. The room was illuminated, though only faintly. I attempted to shift, yet I was met with that all too familiar sensation of being paralyzed, utterly helpless. I stared at the wall, feeling utterly powerless. Suddenly, I heard the sound of heavy footsteps approaching the stairs leading to my bedroom. My brother was first, then my sister, followed by my dad and mom. They were all crying uncontrollably, and they all appeared to be at least a foot taller. It was unsettling. The 4 of them came closer to my bed, halting at the bedside, looming over me, all 4 in tears. I was unable to move. I felt an overwhelming urge to cry out for help or simply shout at them to cease, as their actions were frightening me. Their heights appeared as though they were close to reaching the ceiling. In an instant, all 4 of them pivoted and descended the stairs once more. I regained my ability to move and dashed down the stairs to pursue them, but they were not in the outdoor space. I visited each of their rooms individually. All 4 of them were soundly asleep. My heart raced as the most surreal and unnerving experience unfolded before me. I leaned against the wall for a moment, taking a deep breath to collect my thoughts. It was pointless to try to fall back asleep for the remainder of the night. I remained awake until the sun had completely risen. A few days later, while crossing the road with friends, I was hit by a speeding car, resulting in 3 broken bones and a fractured thigh bone. I spent a week in the hospital, and there was a moment when all 4 of my family members gathered by my bedside, gazing down at me, with my mom visibly emotional and in tears. The image was strikingly similar to what I experienced during my sleep paralysis. I don't consider myself superstitious, yet if I were, I would definitely interpret that dream as a sign or a glimpse into the future. Honestly, I felt a shiver run down my spine as I wrote that last sentence, reflecting on it. Once, I found myself out late enjoying drinks with friends. It was sometime during the summer of 2016. As we strolled through town and meandered around the neighborhood, one of my friends suddenly noticed someone concealed within a bush. He gestured and said to look, prompting us all to move a bit closer for a clearer view. We could just make out what he was referring to. It was strange, as if someone were concealed within the bush in front of the house. As we ventured too near, an odd and unsettling sound suddenly erupted from the bush, prompting us all to scream, laugh, and flee in a hurry. We screamed out of fear, yet laughed simultaneously due to the bizarre humor of the situation, and with so many of us present, it was quite the experience. We made our way back to our homes, each of us thinking that whoever was hiding in that bush was merely playing tricks on passersby. I drifted off to sleep quite effortlessly that night, having indulged in some drinks, but the next thing I recall is awakening to the almost complete darkness of my room. I was unable to glance at the clock to check the time, as I found myself completely immobilized. I found myself in a state of sleep paralysis. I scanned the room with just my eyes and began to hear a familiar sound, the sound we had heard emanating from that bush. Then I gazed directly ahead, at the foot of my bed, and what I beheld was the essence of pure nightmare fuel. It seemed to be a floating, grotesque, and horrific head of a demonic, ghost-like entity. As it approached, I understood it wasn't actually floating. A body lay there, merging seamlessly with the darkness that enveloped the room. Its mouth was agape, continuously producing the recognizable sound emanating from the bush. It came within inches of my face before it abruptly vanished, allowing me to finally scream and move my body. I lay in my bed, breathless and my heart pounding. I turned on the lamp and scanned the area around my bed, but that sinister creature had vanished. What I just experienced felt incredibly vivid, as if I were fully awake during it. It was not a dream. The following day, I shared my experience with my parents, and they concurred that it was sleep paralysis, although they admitted they had never encountered anyone who had witnessed anything so bizarre.